欢迎来到瑞士评，我是 Jennifer。美国2021年的报税季相当的复杂和繁琐。美国少数族裔媒体服务中心4月2日举行线上座谈会，请税务专家一起解读在大流行期间税务以及相关的法律。请看来自美国新闻速递详细的报道。
Today we focus on taxes, a timely topic since April 15th is normally the deadline for filing tax returns, but not this year. The deadline has been extended, and many in our audiences may not be aware. There are other tax issues as well, such as new provisions relating to taxes in the American Rescue Plan that are important to inform our audiences about.
Let's start out with filing season. So filing season is going well. We started accepting tax year 2020 individual tax returns on February 12th. We've already received 85 million individual returns. 85 million. And of the 85 million returns that we have received, we have processed 76 million of them and issued over 56 million refunds, totaling almost $164 billion. By the time we're done, we expect to process more than 160 million individual tax returns. We know taxpayers rely on us for information and help they may need to meet their tax obligations. Our focus as the pandemic continues is to help taxpayers and help tax industry in a way that ensures the safety of our employees and the taxpayers and communities we serve. That's one reason why we extended the due date for individuals to May 17th, 2021. Individuals have until May 17th to file and pay their 2020 taxes. No one will be penalized or charged interest if they file and pay by that date. Note that I said individuals. This does not apply to filers like corporations. And even individuals who make estimated tax payments must still make their first quarter of their 2021 payment by April the 15th. That hasn't changed. The extended due date does apply to making 2020, tax year 2020, contributions to an IRA, a Roth IRA, a health savings account, an Archer medical savings account, and Coverdale education savings accounts. Of course, those who need more time can always request an automatic extension of time to file until October 15th. The due date to request an extension is also May 17th, 2021. But this would be an extension of time to file, not an extension of time to pay. The individual tax payment would still be due by May 17th. So what else can we say about the filing season that we want you to know? We encourage that when taxpayers are ready to file, they should file. So for those who haven't filed yet, I want to start with letting everyone know there are a couple of important steps that they can take, which will greatly improve their experience this year, and if they're due a refund, help them get it faster. So first step, gather your documents. File a complete and accurate return. This is so important, particularly for those who have W-2s or 1099s or other information documents. Make sure that you gather all of your documents and file an accurate return. 2020 was an unusual year. A lot of people lost their jobs or had to start new ones. Be sure that you've thought about 2020 and that you've received your W-2s or your 1099s for the entire year so that you can file a complete return. Next, choose to e-file with direct deposit. We know that even with the vaccine rolling out, many folks may not be comfortable going into a brick and mortar office or going into to look at different things and dealing with their tax preparers. We encourage you to e-file and choose direct deposit. It is the fastest way for your return to be processed, and if you're due a refund, for you to receive it. Switching gears, I want to talk about one of the most popular topics we have here at the IRS since last year. That is the economic impact payments and the rebate recovery credit. Let me give you an update on the recent legislation and those stimulus payments. As the pandemic continues, we remain focused on supporting the federal government's efforts to help those experiencing financial changes and challenges. I'm proud of the work we did to issue more than 160 million of the first round of economic impact payments in 2020 and another 147 million in the second round, many as early as 2 days after the legislation was signed. Two really important reminders about EIP 1 and EIP 2. First, most people received the full amount of both payments and do not have to enter anything about them on their 2020 tax return this year. Second, anyone who may be eligible for an EIP but has not yet received one or didn't get the full amount may claim it when they file their tax year 2020 return. Those eligible for the rebate recovery credit will need the amount of any EIP received to calculate it using the worksheet or the tax preparation software. New this year, you can log on to your federal tax account. You can log in to your federal tax account information on irs.gov to view the amounts of your economic impact payments you've received. We call this IRS Online Account. You can also view any amounts owed, payment history, installment agreement information, tax records, and key tax return information for the most recent tax return as originally filed. Visit irs.gov/secure access to review the required identity authentication process. Again, the fastest and most accurate way is to file electronically, where the tax software will help you figure out your recovery rebate credit. Keep in mind that the IRS will not calculate the recovery rebate credit for people, but if you make a mistake on line 30, that's where you enter it on your return, the IRS will calculate the correct amount. Make corrections to your tax return and continue processing your return. If a correction is needed, there may be a slight delay in processing your return, and the IRS will send you a notice explaining any changes that we've made. Anyone who doesn't normally file, and again, we had a lot of individuals who are eligible for the recovery rebate credit. and may not file a return with the IRS normally can go to irs.gov/RRC. And there are FAQs and topics there that will help guide them through how to claim the recovery rebate credit and how to submit a simplified tax return just to claim the recovery rebate credit. Now, let me jump ahead because we've got a lot we want to talk about. Let me talk a little bit about the American Rescue Plan. I'm sure you all are aware that we recently had some significant legislation enacted after the filing season started. The American Rescue Plan authorized a third round of economic impact payments, and it included a number of other tax law changes that I'll get to in a minute. On the third round of stimulus payments, we got the first batch processed the day after the legislation was enacted. So far, we've issued more than 130 million payments worth approximately $335 billion. The majority have been issued as direct deposits, but we are also mailing paper checks or EIP cards, which is a prepaid debit card, if we do not have bank account information. We encourage all of your readers to be on the lookout. If you haven't gotten a direct deposit, check your mail and be sure not to throw away the prepaid EIP card. We've done a few changes with this round to make the card and the envelope stand out a little bit more. And there's information on irs.gov if you want to know what the card looks like and what the envelope may look like as well. So far, these payments have gone out to those who are eligible, who have filed a 2019 or 2020 tax return, people who don't typically file a return, but who successfully used our non-filer tool on irs.gov last year, and the first of ongoing supplemental payments for those who received an earlier payment that was based on your 2019 return, but your 2020 return is processed. If you are due additional money for EIP 3, we will automatically send you that additional money, so you don't have to do anything else. A question you may ask is, what do I do if I got one of these wonderful debit cards that I'm holding here for you to take a look at, and let's say I accidentally threw it away? If you go to irs.gov and go to our RRC FAQ landing page, there's a toll-free number there where you can call and have a card reissued and resent back to you. Yesterday, we announced we are adding another group of recipients. So Social Security and other beneficiaries who haven't filed a tax return, those individuals should start seeing their payments by Wednesday, April 7th. And the Get My Payment application on irs.gov will update with their information this weekend. Veterans Affairs benefit recipients are not included in this last group, but we do estimate that we will be able to get their money dispersed to them shortly, by mid-April. Payments will continue on a weekly basis going forward as the IRS continues to process both tax year 2020 and tax year 2019 returns. Let me jump ahead real quick to unemployment compensation, and then I'll turn it over to Sue. There is more than stimulus payments in the new law. A change was also made related to unemployment compensation for many of our taxpayers and citizens who have been impacted by the pandemic for 2020. Many people lost their job during 2020, and as a result, may, for the first time, need to include unemployment compensation amounts on their tax return. For tax year 2020, up to $20,400 of unemployment compensation if married, filing joint, and $10,200 for all other eligible taxpayers is now not taxable. We've worked with our partners in the tax preparation and software industries, and I'm happy to say they have updated their programming to address this change so that moving forward, when people file electronically, this change is accounted for. We've also updated our paper instructions, but again, we strongly suggest everyone file electronically. Also, since the filing season started before the law was passed, some taxpayers have already filed their tax return and paid taxes on that unemployment compensation. Earlier this week, we announced that we will automatically adjust those returns, and if that results in an overpayment or a refund, we will send refunds to the affected taxpayers. They don't need to take any action or file an amended return unless they need to amend to make other changes to their return. Those refunds are expected to start in May and continue all the way through early summer. Going back, let me clarify what is still April 15th. So what the deadline for April 15th still applies to estimated tax payments for the first quarter of tax year 2021. So that is still April 15th. I know it's tax administration, it's just, everyone just goes, it's confusing. I definitely get it. But April 15th, if you're making estimated tax payments and that first quarter payment for 2021, that is still due April 15th. But definitely for an IRA, that is extended until May 17th, 2021.
Thank you.
And just to clarify, Mr. Corbin, self-employed people still have to file by April 15th. Is that right?
So self-employed individuals who file a 1040 and use a Schedule C still are filing an individual return. They still can file by May 17th. If you're filing a business return other than a 1040, you do have to file by the traditional filing deadline. So the American Rescue Plan has two components to it. One, it increased the amount of the child tax credit for your tax year 2021 tax return, which will be filed in filing season 2022. So taxpayers will receive a higher benefit for the child tax credit when they file their individual Form 1040 or 1040-SR in 2022. But new for this year is the ability to get an advance on that child tax credit. So eligible taxpayers will start to get an advance payment, very similar to our economic impact payments, beginning this summer of 2021. To be eligible for the advance payment, you must have filed a tax year 2019 or tax year 2020 return. You must have claimed the child tax credit on either your tax year 2019 or your tax year 2020 return. The IRS will automatically consider you eligible for the advance payment of the tax year 2021 child tax credit. Look for more information coming very soon to irs.gov and to our news releases to provide information on how taxpayers who do not want to receive that advance payment can opt out of it. Also, if you have a new child that's born in 2021, that of course was not on your 2020 or your 2019 return, there will be a brand new portal or tool available to you to be able to add additional children or update your income to look at your advance payment.
Yes, I am the language champion, and I love that part of my job. I have a team of people throughout the IRS that have been working for almost 2 years on making sure that we can provide services to taxpayers in so many different languages so they understand what they need to do. As Ken said, we have a new schedule, LEP. That schedule asks taxpayer if they want to receive notices, anything that we would normally send to them in English, we are going to be prepared to send to them in 20 different languages. So each taxpayer should fill out that form if they want to receive any further communications from us, not their tax return itself, but further communications about anything we need information from or that we want to provide to them. I wasn't planning to, but I'm going to read off these languages because you did have that question. Of course, we have English and Spanish, which are the two primary languages in the United States. We also have Korean, Vietnamese, Russian, Arabic, Haitian Creole, Tagalog, Portuguese, Polish, Farsi, French, Japanese, Gujarati, Punjabi, Khmer, Urdu, Bengali, Italian, and two forms of Chinese, both traditional and simplified. That covers the most commonly used languages in the United States. So we're very, very pleased that we are starting to really make sure that all taxpayers in the United States truly understand what they are supposed to be doing and what we try to get to them. We have started translating our documents as well. Pub number 1, which is our basic Your Rights as a Taxpayer. It tells every taxpayer how they can get appeal rights, the things that they can do if they don't agree with us. That is in those same 20 languages. Basic tax information on irs.gov. I wish I counted how many times Ken said irs.gov. We really pushed irs.gov. It is a great website. It has so much information. Please go explore it. Very intuitive, very easy to get around. We have 20, those same 20 languages, basic tax information for anyone who needs to know how to file, when to file, what a filing requirement is for dependents. All of those basic tax information things that everybody really truly needs to know. And I wish we were still training our kids in high school about. We also have Publication 17. Publication 17 is the commonly used forms information for most individuals with families. It has all of the dependency information, filing status requirements, filing types of income requirements. That is currently in 7 different languages. And again, it's on irs.gov. If you go to irs.gov, you can link on it. That is in English, Spanish, Vietnamese, Russian, Korean, and again, the 2 forms of the Chinese, both the traditional and the simplified. So that covers pretty much what we are doing currently. In the future, we plan to do more. We're doing a lot of outreach over the next year. We welcome any information. We welcome your recommendations, especially. I'm always looking for new things, new ways to ensure that we get this information into the communities. So please do not hesitate to let us know what your ideas are, to let us know what did we miss. You know, obviously we can't think of everything. So we're trying very hard on that. And that's pretty much all I have on our communication in multiple languages. However, I do want to go over a few other things that could be valuable to both the people on the call and your readership as well. As Ken said, e-filing is critical for us. E-file is so important for every taxpayer. It is the best way to file. If you use an e-file program, there are so many fewer mistakes. It answers your questions as you're filing the tax return. We want to make sure that everybody can e-file. We want to make sure that we make that available to all our taxpayers. So we have a couple of ways that people can e-file for free. The first one is to go to IRS Free File. If you go to our website again, you will see a link that allows you to go right into IRS Free File, where you can choose from a number of software providers who will provide free electronic filing for federal tax returns if you make less than $72,000 a year. There are other alternatives for people who have higher income, and it may be a smaller fee, but the $72,000 is the current cutoff for absolutely free electronic filing. It is important. It gets processed faster. If you use direct deposit with e-filing, it makes it so much easier for the taxpayers. They don't have to go looking and say, you know, where's my refund? Why hasn't it been processed? It goes through our system so well. It's just, and it helps you. As Ken said, there's a question and answer process. They ask you the questions on the platform that prompt you to remember what you need to have on your tax return. If you cannot get Free File to work for you, if you are not computer literate, if you have difficulty with computers, we have another way. We have IRS to go applications. Those are in English and Spanish. So if you communicate primarily with your smartphone, IRS to go is also the way to get information, and excuse me, it has a lookup tool for IRS Free File as well. For taxpayers who really need a little more help, they can't make it quite through those systems themselves, we have a wonderful program called VITA, Volunteers in Tax Assistance. And we also have a partner program called Tax Counseling for the Elderly. These are volunteers throughout the country. We have a group called our SPEC group that with about 400 people around the country who spend all year working with community partners to engage them in doing free tax return preparation in their communities. They don't put an IRS sign up. They are trusted partners in the community. Some of them are banks, colleges. AARP is a national partner. United Way is another partner. These people are there to provide free tax return preparation, to help taxpayers understand their taxes, also to help them with some educational assistance with building, setting up their own bank accounts, learning how to manage their money. We're very, very proud of this program. I'm especially proud. This is one of the programs that I oversee, and I'm really proud of the work our people do. I'm very proud of the almost 90,000 volunteers around the country that we have year in and year out. This year it's a little difficult because of COVID. We do want our volunteers to be as safe as everyone else. So many of them are doing electronic filing on a remote virtual basis, but some of them are open in person. Again, if you go to irs.gov, you will be able to look for those sites. We currently have about 11,000 sites set up by our partners. You need to just check and see when they're open. Some of them do require appointments if they are doing face-to-face services. If they're not doing face-to-face services, they help you over the phone as well. So great opportunities for people to actually get free tax returns done. The last opportunity is there are paid preparers out there. There are some wonderful professional people. These are tax accountants, these are tax lawyers. There are some low-income taxpayer clinics, but there are also paid preparers. And this is where you go in and you do actually pay someone to prepare your tax return. We do not recommend any individual or any company. That would not be ethically good for the IRS to do. But we do have some recommendations for how you select a paid preparer. What you look for to make sure you're going to someone who is going to prepare your return right. I cringe every time I watch a commercial that says, we will get you a bigger refund. There is no such thing as a bigger refund. If your return is prepared correctly, you get the refund that is correct for your circumstances. No individual paid preparer tax return program is going to find more money for you if you're putting everything in correctly. So please, I do urge you to go in. There is on irs.gov, there is a resource that is called Choosing a Tax Professional. And it gives you hints on what to look for. It has a directory of federal tax return preparers who have credentials in their qualifications for filing tax returns. So please, I encourage everyone to be aware of that. and stay away from those that say, I'm going to get you $1,000 more than anyone else, because it's not the right thing to do. Okay. Along with those repairs that I don't want anyone going to, we have IRS scams out there, lots of them. I'm sure everyone's seen on the news where people get phone calls. My husband gets phone calls on his phone all the time, and I tell him immediately, hang up, don't listen. I wanted to give you kind of an idea of what we've seen, what we should be doing, okay? Some things that you should recognize definitely as a scam when they say they are IRS. We are always going to mail a bill to the taxpayer if they owe us money. We're never going to call them first. We're never going to send them an email first. We're going to send them a bill, and then 30 days later, we're usually going to send them another bill. We're going to say, hey, you forgot to pay us. This is how much you owe. We're not going to call and say, you made a mistake on your tax return and now you owe $1,200, and you need to verify your personal information and we can fix that for you. We don't do that. Absolutely do not do that. We do not call people and tell them that we will set up a payment plan for them. If you call us, we'll work with you on a payment plan, but we don't call people and give them alternative ways to pay their bills, okay? There are some great ways that we can help people if they owe us money. There are some great ways that we can make it easier than writing a check or walking into an office, but we're not gonna call you. We're not gonna call anyone unless we have sent a series of bills first. And then you're gonna know it definitely is us. Be careful on telephones. The scammers, the criminals, when they're calling you, they can change what appears to be the phone number they're calling from, okay? When I answer the phone and I have an area code that looks the same as mine, I'm not gonna look as carefully at it. I'm gonna answer that phone because I'm assuming it might be my girlfriend down the street and she's using a different phone. So be careful. Do not automatically assume it's a legitimate call just because it is close to your own, it has the right area code, it has the right first three numbers. We just issued a news release, and I believe we provided it in the materials for today, about the most recent scam that we've seen. And this is where we've received some complaints about where people with email addresses ending in edu. So this is college students primarily. They're phishing emails, they're targeting university and college students in both public and private institutions, and they display the IRS logo. Very easy to take a picture of our logo and attach it on something. And they use various subject lines such as tax refund payment or recalculation of your tax refund payment. And then it asks them to click a link. Anytime you get an email and you don't know who it's coming from, don't click that link. Absolutely do not. That would not be from us. We are not sending those out. Okay, and you know, we get those phone calls. I know everyone's heard about these, where there's someone on the phone and they say, I am calling about some money that you owe the IRS, and if you don't pay us immediately today, I'm sending the police out to arrest you. And you can maybe hear some sirens in the background. No, we don't do that. Never do that. You should hang up immediately. That's one of the things, again, I tell my husband, hang up the phone immediately. Do not say yes, do not say no. Anything that you say on the phone can be recorded and used in another context. Be very, very careful with those phone calls. We have a Treasury Inspector General for Tax Administration. Anytime anyone impersonates IRS personnel, says they are from the IRS, please report it to our TIGTA people, also to the Federal Trade Commission. And then finally, we do have a number, and these are continuing, but we're very happy that we've been able to reduce these in the past few years, where someone will get your Social Security number. They will get information about you, about your family, about where you've worked. And they will file a tax return in your name, maybe change the address, maybe change the bank account information. And you don't know about it until you go to file your tax return. And if you electronically file, it comes back and it rejects it and it says you've already filed. Okay, that is the most common scam. We have been very successful in reducing those with institution of identity pins, with some of our fraud activities where we're combating fraud with states and local governments and through our filtering. If that happens to you or a friend, you do need to file a form. That's form 14039. It's an identity theft affidavit. When that happens, we will issue you an individual PIN, an IP PIN. And when you file your tax return and you use that IP PIN, it verifies to us that you are the person filing that return. However, if it's already happened and you didn't have an IP PIN, it's going to take us a while to fix it for you, but we will get it fixed. Let me go on. Refund timing. Okay. Again, if you go to irs.gov, you file through Free File, 21 days if we're going to deposit it into your bank. Okay. That's the timeline we're looking at. If you're like my husband, and he filed a paper return this year because there were some problems. I got my refund already because I filed the same time. He didn't. Okay. It takes about 6 weeks in a normal time period for us to process a paper return. You may have noticed there's a little bit going on out there with COVID. It has delayed our processing. We're still working on some of our backlog work. Our folks are working really, really hard. They are digging out. It's gotten so much better, but it is going to take longer. E-file is better. It's faster. You'll get your returns. You'll get your refunds if there's nothing wrong with your tax return. Okay. If there is something wrong with your tax return, we're going to have to fix it. It could be that, again, as I said, someone else filed under your number. It could be that something on your tax return hit one of our filters and we want to just check and make sure it is you filing and that it is the correct information. That's going to take a little bit longer. But for the most part, those refunds Ken talked about, they've all gone out within 21 days for the most part. Okay. And if you don't get it within 21 days, please go to, guess where? irs.gov. Where's my refund? It's very easy to use. As I said, my husband Dave has been looking for his. Just hit the six week mark. It's a simple tool. You go to irs.gov, you put in your social security number, you put in the amount of refund you expected, and there's one other key thing that you put in there. It'll come back and it'll tell you, well, for Dave, it's not saying anything right now because we haven't processed his return. But when your return is in process, it'll tell you what the status is of that return. So the irs.gov site, if it says irs.gov, nothing else, just irs.gov. That's all it is. If it says irs.com, if it says irs.edu, if it says irs.gov and then 5 million characters after it, that's not where you want to be. It's just very, very simple, irs.gov. And that's what's going to take you. You will see a screen and they do change it periodically. Very intuitive. It's got like about 8 different boxes that will steer you to. One says forms and pubs. One says, where's my refund? Very, very intuitive, easy to read, very simple. So let me move on to, okay, you're not going to get a refund, you owe us some money. It happens. You know, it definitely happens. As you said, many people who got unemployment have never done it before, don't know that's taxable income, so they didn't have any withholding. People who start their Social Security and they're still working. You know, some of us older folks like to keep working even though we're eligible, right? If you do owe money, the best way to do this is don't be afraid. File your taxes. Get your taxes in on time. We do charge penalties, a failure to file a penalty. So if you file your taxes on time, we're not going to charge that. We do charge interest. There's a failure to pay penalty and there is interest. However, the best thing you can do, file that tax return on time, pay as much as you can. Once we process that return, we're going to send you a bill and we're going to say, hey, you still owe this money. Why don't you talk to us and we can work with you, or we'll give you payment alternatives. You can do direct pay through a computer. You can put a check in the mail. That's kind of dangerous these days. I would really rather people did direct pay. You can, if you have the money in the bank when you're filing your tax return, elect to have it taken directly out of your checking or savings account. Lots of ways to pay. But if you can't do it and you need some assistance, please call us or even go online. Again, irs.gov. You can set up an installment agreement online. We will work with you, whether it's online, on the phone, or even in person in our taxpayer assistance offices to help you set up a payment agreement that will allow you to get out from under that IRS debt. You don't want to let it increase. You don't want to let it grow with the interest and penalties because they accrue until it's all paid. You don't want to stop filing because then you're not going to get all the benefits that are available, like those EIP payments. So please, anyone, no matter what your status is, file the tax return on time, then work with us and we will help you get it paid. And finally, you've heard the theme, it's irs.gov. We have online resources that are available to make filing taxes easier. Just about anything you can think of that has to do with taxes is going to be found somewhere on irs.gov. We have a whole team of people who are dedicated to making sure that it is intuitive, that it is easy to use, that it is accessible to you. I strongly urge you, go there first. Always go there first. Our phone lines are really backed up. Our folks are working very hard. Ken, maybe you could help me out with these numbers here. We've had over 1 billion phone calls since February 12th. At one point in time, and correct me if I'm wrong, Ken, we were getting 1,500 phone calls per second. That is per second. So,
yeah.
Those folks are working hard. They're really working hard, but you're going to wait, guaranteed.